Hello, everyone, and welcome to the February 12th, Friday edition, 2016 of Balls Deep Sports Talk. I am your host with the almost, Scotty Ball, and thanks for finding the show this week. As I mentioned already, it is a rare Friday episode of the show, as I usually record it on Wednesdays or Thursdays, but just the way this week turned out for me, here I am Friday, scrambling to get the show recorded for you guys. But never fear, no matter what, if you are a weekly member of my Balls Deep Army, that I will find a way to record the show and talk sports with you each and every week, as I have done for what is now 52 consecutive weekly episodes. So this is basically our final episode of the complete year of Season 1 of Balls Deep Sports Talk. And next week will be the first episode of our second year of the show. And I just want to thank all of you who listen to the show, whether it be each and every week or just whenever you get the chance. Thank you so much for tuning in, supporting the show. I really enjoy doing it. And if no one's listening, then I don't really get to do it. I mean, I still could technically, but it'd be a lot more difficult for me to. So thank you for allowing that to have happened over the last year and to continue to happen moving forward. Now, speaking of moving forward, last week I, Scotty Ball, started my first weekly interview with a website known as VikingsDigitalDiaries.com. Make sure to like and friend them on Facebook. Search Vikings Diaries, I think. Maybe Vikings Digital Diaries. I know on Twitter they're at Vikings Diaries. But I now, as I mentioned, have the extremely good fortune and honor of getting to interview a former Minnesota Viking each and every week. And those interviews are then shared on VikingsDigitalDiaries.com and their other social media sites on every Throwback Thursday. And I had my second interview for them this week, and it went just absolutely incredible. It was a total joy, as my first one was with Bobby Felder. But this week, I got to interview former Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Matthew Hatchett, and we talked for about 20 minutes, and it's fantastic. So please go check that out on VikingsDigitalDiaries.com and do it each and every week if you're a Vikings fan. Like I said, I get to do one of these every week, and I never know. It's, like every week it's Christmas, I get to find out which former Viking I get to interview. So it's awesome. I'm super enjoying it, and I want to share it with as many people who might also enjoy it. So if you're a Vikings fan, you should dig it. Check it out. Again, VikingsDigitalDiaries.com. Now, I'll get my own personal shameless plugs out of the way, and then we'll get to some actual sports talk, Scotty Ball. To keep up with everything I'm doing, as well as a lot of things that are going on in the sports world, make sure to like and friend me on Facebook. Simply search Scotty-Ball. And if you're on Twitter, which I love Twitter, I'm much more of a Twitter head than a Facebook fan, but if you're on Twitter, you can find the show at BDST Show. Nice and simple. So make sure to do that. Be 100% on board with what we're doing here at Balls Deep Sports Talk and everything Scotty Ball related. Alright, well, I think I'm done plugging, at least for now. Don't worry, there'll be at least one more reminder at some point in time. But yes, assuming that I am, in fact, done plugging for the time being, let's get to our outline overview of what is to, be expected on tonight's show, or today's show, I should say. Now, of course, just like any, live sporting event, these are subject to change. So, if I have to leave something out, I have to leave something out. We are, without a doubt, going to try and make sure that the show is somewhere between 90 minutes, no more than 2 hours long this week. So, possibility something's going to get left out, but we'll do our best. But amongst tonight's topics, of course, we have NFL football to discuss, with this past Sunday being Super Bowl Sunday, Super Bowl 50, in fact, where we saw the Denver Broncos, very much to my delight, defeat Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers by a score of 24-10. And whether it be in victory or in defeat, most of the season it was in victory, but this past Sunday, even in defeat, Cam Newton gave us no shortage, easy for me to say, no shortage of things to talk about and have an opinion on. And knowing if you listen regularly, you would know my overall strong disliking of Cam Newton. I definitely got some things to talk about there, but we'll discuss what happened in the game. We will also discuss all the extra things that went into the game that people like to talk about. The national anthem, the halftime show, the commercials, all that good stuff. We'll touch on everything Super Bowl related and close out the 2015-2016 NFL season officially. And when we're doing that, when we're done discussing Super Bowl, we will I am making this absolutely mandatory, that we will go back and review every single preseason pick that we made for this past football season, and how we turned out. Now, in addition to all that football, there's also player news, draft topics, free agent topics, so plenty of football still this week, and I'm sure we'll have football every week yet. There's always something NFL related to talk about, and that's my favorite sport, so lots of football. Now, other things we have coming up on this week's show, which I am personally looking very forward to. I am just the tiniest bit burnt out on football, where I would like to I'm ready to shift my focus now to a different team or teams, sport or sports for a little while. And in that mood, conveniently enough, by the way, the NBA has got plenty for us to talk about, including and involving possibly your Minnesota Timberwolves, in addition to the NBA All-Star festivities going on this very weekend, starting tonight, as a matter of fact, since it is Friday, February 12th, as I am recording this once again. So not only will we be talking Timberwolves, we will be talking plenty of league-wide NBA basketball and All-Star related activities for this weekend. And in addition to pro basketball, there is also a little bit of college basketball news that we'll try to discuss. We will hopefully take a quick glance at the top 25. We will check in on the Minnesota Golden Gophers and their continuing struggle and quest to win a game in Big Ten play. And then, of course, in addition to that, there has been big developments in the investigation that we have talked about on and off here on the show for the past couple months, I believe, involving the University of Louisville and their recruiting process and possible sanctions and consequences for the allegations involving recruits and strippers and former assistant coaches or something like that. And you know that whole story. Like I said, we've discussed it more than once. But not just basketball we'll be focusing on. We will definitely have hockey talk as well. Hockey talk, if you're out east. What's up, Boston? But here, where I live, in the great northern United States, the land of 10,000 plus lakes, my and possibly your Minnesota Wild continue to struggle in epic fashion. We will go over in detail how bad they are and have been, what, the current explanations that we have for that are, and what possibly can or should be done about it to improve moving forward, because at this point in the standings, the Wild, I believe, are 2 points out of the 8th seed in the Western Conference playoffs. So clearly something needs to happen, and we'll discuss that in addition to, taking a quick view around the NHL, looking at some standings, possibly some stat leaders, although I think that's more likely a candidate for one of the upcoming shows as we get more into the NHL hockey season now here on Balls Deep every week, more into the NBA and college basketball seasons here every week. Now, I don't know how much, if any, baseball talk we'll really get to. There isn't a whole lot of big new news to discuss. But spring training is right around the corner, possibly even underway for all I freaking know. Pitchers and catchers are probably down there, but I think they're usually end of January, beginning of February. But so it'd be nice to discuss some Twins lineup topics and other Twins-related issues at some point in time, but I don't know if we'll get any of that on tonight's show, but it's a possibility. We'll maybe discuss just a little bit of PGA as well. Got the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am currently underway this weekend. Always a fun tournament to watch, especially on the Thursday and Friday, with all the different celebrities then that you get to see on those days before any kind of cut is made going into the weekend. I know some of the people I've seen from Thursday's round were Bill Murray and Mark Wahlberg, and let's see, a bunch of people that you would definitely recognize. So, like I said, it's a fun early in the season tournament, entertaining and unique to check out if you're a golf fan. But maybe we'll touch in there a little more. Otherwise, consider that the golf talk for this week. We will definitely be checking in on a little bit of UFC news involving last week's fight night results, as well as a big upcoming fight night at the end of the month with a huge main event that should draw extremely well. Also, UFC news regarding CM Punk and his UFC debut, or what was supposed to be his UFC debut. But again, we'll get more into the specifics on that, as well as just a little bit of where Ronda Rousey is at in getting ready for her return to the UFC since losing her title to Holly Holm. We will also be discussing WWE and other pro wrestling, as we almost always do here every week on the show, because I like it and it's my show, so deal with it. But the big story in WWE this past week was the sudden announcement of the retiring of Daniel Bryan. Now, just 2 short years ago, Daniel Bryan wrestled in 2 matches at WrestleMania and came out victorious. He wrestled in the first match of the night on WrestleMania, beating Triple H, and then he wrestled in the last match of the night, defeating both Batista and Randy Orton in a triple threat match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And that's just his accomplishments, his biggest accomplishment recently. That doesn't even, because if you're unfamiliar with WWE, that doesn't even go into remote detail the amount of impact and popularity he's had, or how over he is with the fans, as us who are a little more familiar with how the industry and the business of WWE works and things like that. But so that was huge news in the WWE world, in the pro wrestling world in general. A super popular, well-liked guy. So we'll discuss Daniel Bryan's retirement, as well as other WWE-related news regarding the upcoming Fastlane pay-per-view, WrestleMania after that, what to expect for, feud storylines, possible matches there, all that fun wrestling talk that we like to have, because honestly, that's a big reason why I'm a wrestling fan. Talking wrestling, thinking wrestling, trying to, figure out and see where they go with the stories and how things play out and stuff, and how you would do it differently and better. That's a big